If you're wondering who's starting where for tomorrow's sprint race in Austin, who got screwed over by their own team, and how Max Verstappen just threw down the gauntlet to both McLarens, you need to stay with me, because we're going through every single driver from P20 all the way to pole position. And trust me, when we get to top 3, you're going to understand why this championship fight is far from over. Alright, let's start from the back and work our way forward, because even the drivers who didn't make it through SQ1 have stories to tell. P20 was Gabriel Bortoleto, and P19 was Esteban Ocon. Gabriel Bortoleto, the Sauber rookie, starts dead last in P20, and here's the problem: he had his only lap time deleted for exceeding track limits at turn 19. To make things worse, the traffic jam in the pit lane meant he couldn't even get another lap in before the session ended. Brutal welcome to quota for the Brazilian. Esteban Ocon in the Haas. Ocon just couldn't find the pace. The American team brought special liveries to Austin, but that wasn't enough to help the Frenchman escape SQ1. He was nearly 3 seconds off the pace. That's eternity in F1 terms. P18 was Yuki Tsunoda and P17 was Franco Colapinto. Now this is where it gets controversial. P18 for Yuki Tsunoda, and Yuki is furious, and rightfully so. Red Bull sent him out too late. There was a massive traffic in the pit lane, and Yuki couldn't get to the start-finish line in the time to begin his final flying lap before the timer hit 0. Imagine being a driver, doing everything right, and your own team's timing error costs you shot at SQ2. The radio messages afterward, let's just say, not happy. This is P18 when he should have been fighting for the points positions. Franco Colapinto in the Alpine, the Argentine rookie, had a tough time. This is his first time racing at Cota in an F1 car, and the slippery, newly resurfaced track caught him out. He was over 2 seconds off the pace and just couldn't find the grip he needed. P16 was Ollie Behrman and P15 was Liam Lawson. And rounding out SQ1 eliminations, Ollie Behrman in the second Haas. Behrman missed making SQ2 by just 15 thousandths. That's the difference between advancing and being eliminated. He was so close, missing out to Pierre Gasly by literally the width of a piece of a paper. So that's your bottom 5, all eliminated in SQ1, all starting from the back of the grid tomorrow. Now we move into the drivers who made it through SQ1 but couldn't survive SQ2. These are your P11 through P15 starters. Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls. Lawson actually had his lap time deleted for track limits at turn 19. That corner was causing chaos all session long. Without a valid lap time in SQ2, he's starting from the 8th row. P14 was Lance Stroll and P13 was Pierre Gasly. We have Lance Stroll in Aston Martin, had a really disappointing day overall, and Lance was the slower of the 2 Aston Martin drivers. He's starting from P14, which is not where his team wants to be, especially after the upgrades they brought recently. Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. Pierre made it through SQ1 by the skin of his teeth. Remember, he beat Behrman by just 15 thousandths, but in SQ2 he just didn't have the pace to go further. Still, that's both Alpine in the teens, which tells you where that car is right now. P12 was Isack Hadjar and P11 was Kimi Antonelli. Isack Hadjar in the other Racing Bull. Hadjar actually had a decent recovery. He was in the drop zone early in SQ1 but hauled himself into the top 10 before eventually being eliminated in SQ2. Not a bad effort for the young driver. And now P11. This is painful for Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes, being eliminated in SQ2 by just 6 thousandths of a second by Lewis Hamilton. 6 thousandths, that's a blink, that's literally the time it takes your brain to process what you're seeing, and that's the difference between starting P11 and being in the top 10. Brutal for the young Mercedes driver who's shown such promise this year. Alright, now we're getting into the good stuff. The top 10, the drivers who made it to SQ3 and will be fighting for sprint points tomorrow. P10 was Charles Leclerc and P9 was Alex Albon. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Now, Charles had a rough session. He had gearbox issues earlier in the practice, smelled burning oil and missed valuable track time. The fact that he even made it to SQ3 is impressive, but P10 is not where the reigning Austin race winner wants to start. He won here last year. Tomorrow's sprint is going to be damage limitation exercise for the Monegasque. Alex Albon in the Williams. Solid effort from Alex Albon to get both Williams cars into the top 10 in what's been a tough session for the growth-based team. Starting from P9 gives him a real shot at sprint points tomorrow. P8 was Lewis Hamilton and P7 was Carlos Sainz. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, and you know what? Lewis is still searching for his first podium since moving to Ferrari this season. Here's the thing though. Lewis didn't even use the soft tires in practice, he only ran mediums, so we haven't seen his true pace yet. In SQ3 he made it through, but just barely. Remember, he beat Kimi Antonelli by only 6 thousandths in SQ2. P8 is respectable, but you can see the frustration. He's got work to do tomorrow. Carlos Sainz in the other Williams, both Williams drivers in the top 10. That's a strong showing. Carlos put strong a clean lap in SQ3 and secured 7th on the grid. This is huge for Williams' confidence, and Sainz will be looking to capitalize on this tomorrow and maybe snatch a point or two. P6 was Fernando Alonso and P5 was George Russell. Fernando Alonso, the Spanish maestro, the two-time world champion, showing exactly why experience matters. While his teammate Stroll couldn't get out of SQ2, Alonso dragged that Aston Martin into 6th place. At this age, he's still showing the youngsters how it's done. Alonso starts from the 3rd row tomorrow, and knowing Fernando, he's going to defend like his life depends on it. Okay, now we're getting to where things get really interesting. George Russell in the Mercedes. George just signed his new contract extension this week, and he came to Austin with confidence after winning in Singapore. P5 is a solid result, putting him on the 3rd row alongside Alonso. Mercedes have shown flashes of pace recently, and George will be looking to convert this into a strong sprint race result tomorrow. But here's where we need to talk about the shock of the session. P4 was Nico Hulkenberg and P3 was Oscar Piastri. The Hulk in a Sauber starting from the 2nd row of a Formula 1 sprint race in 2025. Guys, this is insane. Nico was already impressive in practice. He was P2 in FP1, ahead of Piastri, Verstappen, everyone except Norris. But to carry that pace into qualifying and put it to 4th, ahead of Russell, ahead of Hamilton, ahead of both Ferraris. This is one of the best qualifying performances we've seen from the Sauber stake F1 team in years. Nico delivered a sensational lap in SQ3 and tomorrow he's going to start on the 2nd row next to one of the championship contenders. This is why we love racing. This is why F1 is unpredictable. Absolute scenes at Sauber right now. And now we arrive at the top 3. The drivers who will lead the field to the line tomorrow. And guys, this is where the championship battle just got turned up to 11. Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, 336 points, 22 points ahead of his teammate Lando Norris, and 63 points ahead of Verstappen. Piastri starts from the 2nd row tomorrow, and here's what's fascinating. He's got Verstappen directly ahead of him, he's got Norris ahead of him, he's boxed in by his 2 biggest title rivals. In Singapore, Oscar was upset after Norris made contact with him on lap 1. There's tension in that McLaren garage, even if they're trying to play it cool. Tomorrow's sprint start is going to be crucial for Oscar. Does he play it safe? Does he attack? Does he protect his championship lead or go for the win? This is pressure. This is F1 at its finest. P2 was Lando Norris, and on pole is Max Verstappen. 2nd place Lando Norris, 314 points, 22 points behind his teammate in the championship fight. Now listen to this. Norris was fastest driver in SQ1. He was fastest in SQ2. He dominated the first 2 sessions of sprint qualifying. And then Max Verstappen took it away from him in the final moments of SQ3. Lando was 71 thousandths away from the pole position. That's it. That's the margin. And after Singapore, where McLaren said there will be repercussions for his contact with Piastri, Lando needed this. He needed to show he's the man. He needed to beat Max. He came so close, but close isn't pole. Tomorrow he starts from the front row, the pressure is on. And pole position goes to Max Verstappen, the four-time world champion, the man who everyone wrote off this season, the man who's 63 points behind in the championship, but has 2 wins and P2 in the last 3 races. Here's what makes this so incredible. Max was the last driver to start his flying lap in SQ3. The track was at its absolute best. One shot, one opportunity, the slightest mistake and he's P3, P4, maybe worse. And he nailed it. 71 thousandths faster than Norris. He saved his best lap for when it mattered the most. The champion mentality. That's what separates the good from the great. Verstappen starts on pole tomorrow. He's won both sprint races here in Austin in 23 and 24. He's won them both from pole position. Guys, Max Verstappen just sent a message to McLaren. I'm not done yet. So let's recap what this means for tomorrow's sprint race. Max Verstappen on pole with both McLarens right behind him. Hulkenberg in that Sauber ready to cause chaos on the second row. Russell lurking in fifth. And then you have Alonso, Sainz and Hamilton all in the points-paying positions. Here's what I'm watching tomorrow. The start. Can Norris or Piastri get a better launch than Verstappen? Because if one of them leads into turn 1, the championship fight shifts again. Can Hulkenberg hold on to the second row or will big team swallow him up? Because if Nico stay in the top 5, that's huge for Sauber. The McLaren dynamic. Will Norris and Piastri race each other or will team orders come into play after Singapore, after repercussions talk? This is must-watch TV. Ferrari, Hamilton and Leclerc starting from the back half of the top 10. Can they fight their way forward? Or are they stuck in DRS trains? And guys, remember, there are 8 points for the winner tomorrow. That's significant. If Norris wins and Piastri is third, that's a 5-point swing. If Verstappen wins and both McLarens have issues, we're talking about completely different championship picture. This sprint race matters. Alright, so there you have it. Every driver from P20 all the way to the pole position and exactly what it means for tomorrow's sprint race here in Austin. The key takeaways. Verstappen is back on pole and looking dangerous. McLaren have both cars in top 3, but there's tension. Hulkenberg is the surprise package of the day, and poor Tsunoda got screwed by his own team's timing. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more detailed F1 analysis, hit that subscribe button. Right now, we're covering every session this weekend, the sprint tomorrow, qualifying tomorrow night, and the full Grand Prix on Sunday. Drop a comment below and tell me, who do you think wins the sprint tomorrow? Is it Max holding on to the lead? Is it Norris with a perfect start? Or does Piastri play the long game and protect his championship? I want to hear your predictions. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe.